Morgan, talk a little bit about you're now the managing editor here at City&State.
Editor in chief.
Editor in chief. My apologies. Talk about the transition, and you're back here in the journalistic community after being in good government. Talk about that transition and the future of the City&State publication.
Well, I was very fortunate that I had two great predecessors, and Edward Isaac Dovier and Adam Lisberg, who built a really worthy publication that I think has gotten people in New York City to pay attention. I mean, especially our first read email, I feel like that's become political coffee for people in the know in the city, and so I feel very fortunate to have this vehicle to reach the people who matter most in New York City and New York State politics, and I want to use that to its fullest potential. We are going to be doing some new things with the publication we already have. I think up until this point we've been a magazine that's been masquerading as a newspaper, and so I want to direct it more to that magazine end, doing some more substantive long-form pieces, doing some more fun pieces that really capture the political conversation, just like if you're chilling at a bar with your friends and you're talking politics, it's not just going to be wonky, long policy articles that are going to bore you to tears, but it's going to be a nice combination of personalities, rumors, fun facts, and really bring everybody in the political community together. So that's my aim.
Morgan, talk about the future of journalism. With the internet and now the cutbacks at these major papers. Talk. Where do you see it going?
Well, I think I'm both really depressed about journalism and really excited about journalism simultaneously. It's depressing that the old institutions that built journalism into the fourth estate that kept politicians accountable, that kept our institutions more honest, that those are falling apart, that media consolidation and media cutbacks have really eviscerated those old vehicles. But at the same time now, people like yourself and all the great bloggers that we have in the city and all the people who are citizen journalists can move to the vanguard and can get the recognition that they deserve. And so if I Google something, something on the Perez notes is just as liable to pop up as an article from the New York Times. And so journalists who wouldn't have the vehicle ordinarily to get recognized now have a chance to make a real impact. And I think that's the future of keeping our politicians accountable.
Morgan, there were several races June 26th, right? And there's several more coming in September. As a person who's been involved on all sides of politics for a very long time, who do you think did the best job of getting their message out?
I was surprised for the most part, other than the Rangel Espaillat race, which I think is just obviously is still so up in the air, by how what landslide victories those most of the races were. I've given up making predictions in politics a long time ago because I feel like I am always wrong. But I was struck by the margin by which Nydia Velázquez won in Brooklyn, by the extraordinary margin that Hakeem Jeffries won by, that Sean Patrick Maloney didn't even have a close race with Becker. So it's like the candidates who won really showed that they were deserving of it. They didn't squeeze by, but clearly they were effective in getting their message across.
Who do you think are some of the best in the game overall? I know that Senator Schumer is known for his Sunday, press conferences. Who do you think are some of the most effective politicians at spin or getting their message out? I was reading an interesting piece about Priorities USA and Bill Burton, how they're telling that narrative of Mitt Romney and his time at Bain, and talk a little bit about that. Who in your time in politics was one of the best in the game as far as media and message and getting his name in the papers?
It's interesting how words like narrative have just entered into the regular dialogue and talking about politics because, I feel like in the past it would have been shameful to talk about a narrative. It's like, oh, this is like the complete BS story that I'm spinning about my candidate, buy into this. And that would have been like something for ridicule. But now it's like that's par for the course. And so, you can talk to a politician about, oh, what's your narrative? And it's like, they look at it like that's a completely natural question. Like, yes, this is the BS that I'm selling now. In terms of, who are masterful politicians, there aren't that many. And when you do see them, they stand out so much. I mean, she's not in the game in New York anymore, but I mean, the first time I met Hillary Clinton, I was just blown away by how skilled and personable and endearing and just compassion, all those things that make you feel an immediate connection with somebody. That was what Hillary Clinton really brought to the table, and it was something that I think until she ran for Senate, people really didn't understand what a brilliant politician both her and Bill Clinton are. Your question is a complicated one because you're talking about who's master at spinning you. For me, I find that people like Doug Forend, who is a great political consultant, but like he'll usually tell it to you pretty straight. Like that's the take that I'm looking to hear. Someone who's just going to spin me like a outlandish, that might work on some people, and that might craft the larger narrative. But I find that the most effective politicians for me are the people who can tell it to you straight, and you still know that it's 90% there, but it's enough there that you can trust them.
Morgan, how would you grade President Obama's team? David Plouffe, David Axelrod, Jay Carney. How would you grade them thus far? As far as for example, people criticize President Obama health care, that he hasn't been able to sell it to the people. Some of the positives, like pre-existing conditions and having your children, under your plan at 26 years old. How would you grade him thus far?
Well, it's a complicated question because I was a true believer in President Obama. Although I'm a journalist now and have really embraced nonpartisan politics through my work as a good government leader, if you Google me, you'll see that I was a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and I tried to do my utmost to elect President Obama, and I've been so all the more disappointed in his time in the presidency because I believe so strongly in what he was trying to accomplish. Now, I would feel completely like a heel and somebody who wasn't telling the truth if I criticized Obama's team of campaign advisors because they ran one of the most masterful campaigns in at least in my lifetime. At the same time, if you want to talk about narrative and the way that they've managed the presidency, I feel like they've made a lot of incompetent moves that have undermined the president's power and his ability to accomplish what he set out to do. If you want to talk about health care, I was very upset with health care reform in general. Here